All right.
What's up, Spikes? Jim here, coming at you from the Spike Feeder studio here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Strange times we're living in right now. Hang on, I'm like right in the shadow of my microphone. I should move my light. Do you, Eliot, you wanna, or Bill, you wanna intro what we're doing today? I'm gonna move my light.
Sure. What's up, Spikes? You probably already know what this is about just from our beautiful background image that we've chosen for today's stream. But we're going to be going over some of the official Ikoria spoilers, just reviewing the cards, telling you what we think about them, having a good time. One of those things isn't mandatory, but the one that is mandatory is us talking about the cards. So Eliot, I'm just gonna mention that you're probably the most excited about these out of all of us, because you have an affinity for you have an affinity for dinosaurs.
Really?
Cost one less to cast for each dinosaur permanent.
Like this, Eliot?
Yeah, this one right here to my left, apparently.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're doing a live set review. We figured there's some like bombs dropping today. So, plus something that has never happened in the history of Commander happened just this morning. So, we figured we'd get it going. So I slapped together this nice little layout for the stream. Need some calm opinion on this spoilers. Yeah, there is too much salt, Luca. That's 100% correct. Yeah. So yeah, we're just going to talk about the spoilers. We're going to have fun. I shouldn't say spoilers because they're not spoilers. They are preview cards. They were given to people to preview officially on behalf of Wizards. We are not here in this chat to talk about anything that's been spoiled unless it's been officially released by a creator on behalf of Wizards or by Wizards themselves. So keep that out of chat. Yeah, just keep it out of chat. We don't want to hear it. So, what do we want to start with? I guess we have a card up right now.
Yeah, we can talk about the vague sort of idea behind some of the new mechanics and stuff like that and how we feel about them in general.
Sure. Okay, well, we have one up right now. It's Ikoria the Collector. It's 2 and 2 hybrid black-green for a 4/5 legendary creature ooze. It's got Companion. The Companion requirement is each non-land card in your starting deck shares a card type. And then as Umori, the Collector enters the battlefield, choose a card type. Spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. So for those of you that don't know, Companion is something where it'll list a restriction that your deck has to comply with, kind of like those conspiracies that do that. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of the conspiracy that says like, what was it? You can only run creatures and
you can only run non-land cards, I think.
Yeah.
And your deck has to be a 35 cards or something.
Yeah, it's something like that. So it reminds me of that. So yes, they do have to. The upside, if you comply with the restriction, the upside is that the companion card starts in. So you get to cast it from your command zone, but if it goes away after you cast it, it doesn't go back to the command zone. It's like a one-shot deal. So in this situation, if you only have creatures, or say if you only have creatures, you only have artifacts or whatever in your deck, then as you shuffle up to start the game, when your deck normally becomes your library and you put your commander in the command zone, you would also put your companion creature in the command zone with your commander or commanders. So what that means is that you actually have in this case, if you're playing an EDH, it is a 101 card deck. And when you start the game, you'll end up with either a 98 or a 99 card library. You'll end up with your commander or 2 commanders in the command zone, as well as your companion. I don't know if it's confirmed that it's in the command zone. That's what I've heard. It would make sense.
It is confirmed that it starts in your collection outside of the game.
Yeah.
In formats where you do not have a sideboard.
It starts in your collection, but then when you shuffle up, it has to be in the game for you to cast it, right?
I don't believe so. I believe that is the way they worded it. I'll double check it here.
Yeah, the Companion is a strange mechanic and I feel like
it starts outside the game.
I feel like the otter ban was definitely merited because it's the one that we've seen thus far that's actually like decent.
Yeah,
especially in like EDH and CEDH, because you're most of the time going to be complying with that restriction anyway. The restriction for that one, we'll come to it in a second, but
yeah, let's not talk too much about otter yet.
Yeah, we'll get there, but I just think that companion is, to me, very similar to partner in that it just feels like if you're going to be doing what the card with companion does like already, then you have there's a very low opportunity cost to just like jam it into your sideboard or your collection or whatever.
Yes.
And just have it as like a backup up your sleeve that you don't ever have to actually draw or tutor for. It's just always there.
Yeah. Mike points out in chat at each commander deck. I just want to make a point that the comp rules do distinguish between the word deck and library. Your deck is what you bring into a game. Then once you sufficiently randomize your deck at the beginning of the game, it becomes your library. So your deck can be ordered in whatever order you want, but then you shuffle it up at the beginning of the game and it becomes your library. That's the same step that has you take your commander out of your deck and put it in the command zone. So while the game is happening, WotC doesn't refer to it as your deck, they refer to it as your library. So even though we use it fairly interchangeably, there is a rules difference there. Because whenever you're talking about actions in a game, we always refer to library, not deck. So, yeah. It's just, it is copy and pasted from the article, but those are some clues, unless they change the comp rules, which they could. Those are some clues as to how they're going to treat it. Our companions revealed at the beginning outside the game. That would require a comp rules change. But my assumption is that when you put your commander in the command zone, that the companion is going to go somewhere. Because would have to be a fair amount of rules baggage to allow you to cast something from outside of the game. Because whatever rule goes into place would have to prevent you from casting anything outside the game, not just companion stuff, right?
So
instead of them just being like your sideboard is also your hand.
Yeah, the Ikoria mechanics article does say you can have up to one chosen companion for each game. The chosen companion doesn't start in your main deck, rather it's a card in your sideboard. If you're playing casually without sideboards, it's just in your collection outside the game. All the same rules apply to it. This means it doesn't count as a card toward meeting the minimum deck size in the format you're playing, but in constructed formats, it is one of your 15 sideboard cards. Just before the game begins, reveal your chosen companion to all players. Once during the game, you may cast your chosen companion from your sideboard.
Yeah. So Roger JCT, I would assume that it's the same way that you prove that you fulfilled your commander deck building restrictions without showing off your deck, right? We can't confirm that all of your cards in your deck meet your color identity without you showing it off, but we're just going to have to take your word for it. That would be my prediction on how they're going to deal. So, okay, so what do we think about Umori?
I think the fact that it's each non-land means you don't get to play artifacts or enchantments or sorceries or instants unless you are playing only those.
Yeah, that's something for
you
sure.
could run like a Golgari deck that is only instants, and that's it.
Yeah.
This card is outside of like a Marin creature only style deck, in which case you're paying 4 mana for like a one reduction on your creatures, which like doesn't seem great.
Yeah, and it's one colorless too, right? Which is, I don't know. I would love it if it like reduced it by green.
Or like that's what I don't understand, right? Is with such a downside to having it start outside your deck and having to like cost 4 mana, it should be like spells you cast of the chosen type cost green black less to cast or something.
Yeah. I mean, just as a standard, like as a regular card in the 99, it's like fine. 4 mana 4/5 with a pretty decent like cost reduction upside. I can't think of any decks that this is going to be super relevant in, because usually when I'm cost reducing, I want to cost reduce instants or artifacts. You know, in which case I'm just going to run Cloud Key or whatever. But
Yeah, it's okay. I think it's a little bit expensive for a mana cost reduction for really any deck that would want it for this sort of thing. Like it's kind of neat, and as Eliot said, in like a very dedicated like creature based deck, you could use it to reduce creatures. You could also use it in a random green black deck that wants to reduce the cost of artifacts, because obviously reducing artifacts by one colorless is really strong. Like that's kind of what you want to do.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? Because your commander does start in your deck, and then once you shuffle your deck to have it become your library at the beginning of the game, that's when it becomes your library, and your commander is not part of it. So this would be a creature thing, right? I guess you could do an enchantment if you've got enchantment creatures, or artifacts if you've got an artifact creature as your commander. Or I guess a land if you play Arixmethes, but then you can't play this because it's outside of color identity. But that's the only ones that I can think of.
As a companion, I think it's awkward. As a card on its own, I think it's maybe fine. Like, it's not something that I'm excited about.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to go to the next one? I can't navigate super easily using this card fetcher, so do you just want to read me off one and I'll pull it up?
Sure. Where did my list go?
If we want to stick on companion, we can go to Karuga the Macro Sage.
How do you spell that?
Yeah. K-E-R. Yeah.
See if it pulls it up. There we go. We just started about 10 minutes ago. We got to keep this brisk, though, chat, so I apologize if we don't answer all the questions in chat, because Bill has a hard cutoff of 1 o'clock, which means we've got 38 minutes to do this. So, Karuga the Macro Sage is a 5 mana. It's a hybrid blue and green. It's a 5/4, and its companion effect, or its companion restriction is your starting deck contains only cards with converted mana cost 3 or greater and land cards. And when it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each other permanent you control with converted mana cost 3 or greater. So it's kind of like a Regal Force.
Yeah, it's Regal Force, but for like things that cost a lot.
What do we think about it? What do we think about it as a card without?
Even as a card without companion, I don't know.
I think it's like worse than like in that sense. If you're using it as I want to draw X cards, it's worse than like Tishana or
Prime Speaker Zagana.
Regal Force.
Regal Force, yeah.
Well, Prime Speaker is a single big thing or whatever, right? True. But Regal Force is the other one that does each green creature you control, because in those style of decks, you're playing a bunch of elves and stuff.
Yep.
Right? Like to have a bunch of mana to cast these things, those are not permanents that are 3 or greater.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So we're kind of lukewarm on this one.
I think even in because people are saying not for CEDH but for casual. I think even in casual, this is worse than all of the other mass card draw options. Because if you're in the mid game and you're playing, a deck that cares about this card, you're likely only drawing like 4 or 5 cards off of it, because it requires everything that costs 3 or greater, because it does trigger off of like your chromatic lanterns and stuff like that. But I don't know how many of those the average deck will have in play until turn 10. Late game this thing's great, but so's a Regal Force, so's any of the other card draw ones. I forget the names right now, but I think that this is probably the worst of all the options.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it has the best art, though. It reminds me of those panoramic shots of when you take a panoramic shot of your dog while it's walking.
Of your dog on the beach, yeah.
While it's walking and the snout gets truncated. But
I do have big feelings for Dinosaur Hippo.
Yeah, I'm really.
Oh yeah, Dinosaur Hippo is top tier.
House Hippo. That's a Canadian reference. Only the Canadians in chat will get that one.
Chips, raisins, and the crumbs from peanut butter on toast.
Yeah. Okay. Next card. What do we want to pull up?
Gyruda, Doom of Depths. Gyruda.
Oh boy, it's not in English. Anybody know what this does? Hey, Luca.
I have the card here. Okay. It's so it's 4 2 hybrid blue black for a legendary creature, Demon Kraken. The companion requirement is your starting deck contains only cards with even converted mana costs. And when this enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. Put a creature card with an even converted mana cost from among those cards onto the battlefield under your control.
Oh,
So
it
ETB,
reminds
mill
me.
everybody for steal an even cost creature.
It reminds me
Yeah,
of
this
the
card.
what's the it's a black creature that when it ETBs you get something from everybody's graveyard.
Oh, Sepulchral Primordial.
Sepulchral Primordial, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, but it mills.
This thing is sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this thing is dope.
It's awkward that it's even converted mana costs and not odd, because like just like off the top of my head, like Beacon of Unrest is like 3 black. Like Sepulchral Primordial is 5 black. So I don't even know where to begin with like what cards in blue black are even, or as opposed to
Grave
being
Titan
odd or whatever, right? But
Yeah.
Grave Titan is
So I mean, like, I would play this as a 6-mana 6/6 without it being companion. I would play this in a black blue X deck.
Oh, yeah.
This card is outstanding, I think. I think this is gonna
The
put
fact
in
that you can steal
work.
somebody else's big thing too.
Yep, I totally agree. I like this card a lot, but I wouldn't play it as a companion, I don't think.
No, I would.
Frat
I could
Bro
maybe see this as like just a
Deadeye
commander.
Navigator is an
Oh.
even CM.
And combos with this by making you able to flicker it. That's actually a pretty big brain.
Yeah, Frat Bro, we are reading the chat, but we've got to keep this real crisp because we only have about half an hour. So, yeah, there's tons of good even ideas. I wouldn't personally, I don't think I would build around it. That doesn't really get me going, but I like this as a card by itself for sure.
Yep. Plus, it's a Demon Kraken, so that's like
Demon Kraken is really good.
Yep, agreed. Next.
Animate Dead is even. This only gets creatures though. It doesn't get any non-creatures. Frat Bro.
Last companion is the Otter, Lutri, Lutri.
Okay, pulling it up. There we go.
Yeah, this is
so
the important.
This card is already banned in Commander.
Yes. Yeah, this is the first time that's ever happened. There's never been a card banned in Commander before it was released. This doesn't happen in many formats at all, let alone Commander, where they usually give a quarter to talk about it. Yeah, we did, Haka, we talked about the Golgari one. Yeah, it got banned before it was released. So this is a first for EDH. And I'm going to give you guys a rundown of why. I've read the MTG Commander release. Basically, they feel that it doesn't work. It doesn't interact well with the rules of the format because the downside is not really a downside in Commander. Non-land card in your starting deck has a different name. So as long as you're playing a singleton deck, like not Shadowborn Apostles, you've met this criteria already. Yeah, Trilemma, it has happened in other formats, but it's never happened in EDH before. Yeah, so there's no downside, which just means that every red-blue deck, period, could run this as a free card that doesn't take up a slot in your 99 or 98, and it's just all upside. There's never a reason why you would not run this. And I never say that, ever, in Commander, because I always think that there's a good reason to run one card over another, but this doesn't take up a card slot in your deck. So they felt that it didn't interact well with the rules of the game, and that's why they banned it.
Yeah, exactly. For everybody asking stuff about Canadian Highlander, nobody knows anything. The council hasn't said anything, so there's no point in speculating.
Yep.
We don't even know if Companion is going to be allowed to be outside of the game in Canadian Highlander.
Because they don't, like, Canadian Highlander doesn't operate with a sideboard. So, like, all of the wishes do nothing because there is no sideboard to pull from. This would be in your sideboard technically, but that doesn't exist. Like, it's possible that Companion just doesn't do anything, so that this is just a dual caster mage in your 90 or in your 100.
Oh, apparently Wheeler posted something about it. There is no companion.
Yeah, there's no companion board. That's what I figured.
Yeah, I kind of expected them to do that in EDH, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's probably the way I would have approached it. Yeah, I don't know. I think that that companion in general, if I can tie my bow around this, I would say I wish this wasn't a thing. I'm not super choked
I don't like companion. As I said earlier, it's very similar to partner, and I am a very vocal advocate against partner as just a thing in general. Because either it's just not good and it just is just kind of a cute thing that doesn't really do anything, or it's like broken.
Yeah.
And I feel like this, even just us going over these 4 cards, like we went over 3 cards that were like super, super medium, and then this one, which is way too good.
Yeah, it's like
and there's almost no in between. Yeah, this is a third partner. Exactly.
It's not even a third partner because you don't even have to make you don't have to make a choice. You just add it.
Yeah, like it's worse than a third partner.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan, and I know that the Looter Scooter was in chat, and he said that he didn't want to talk about, or sorry, she didn't want to talk about companion at all because it's not a good mechanic, and I agree.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't like it.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so this one specifically is banned, Acrazin 1, but like, are they going to ban all of the ones that are not terrible? Like, that's just not interesting. I don't think that's good game design.
I don't think companion brings any constraints at all. It just adds, right? It doesn't subtract.
Yeah, the fact that it doesn't have to be
I guess
part of your...
sorry. I guess it does add constraints if you play it as a companion. The other ones that aren't banned. That would be accurate. Yeah, you could say that. They're not the type of constraints that really get me going. So I don't know. Somebody might like it, and that's cool, but not me. Okay, next card.
So next up, Snapdax, Snapdax, comma.
Apex of the Hunt. Okay, so this is a new mechanic. It's got mutate.
This is a mutate card.
Elliot, you want to roll this one down?
Yeah, so it is a 1 red, white, black, or Mardu for a 3/5 with double strike, and whenever this creature mutates, it deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker and opponent controls, and you gain 4 life. It is also a dinosaur cat nightmare.
Huge fan. Huge fan.
Big fan.
This card seems gross.
Yeah.
So the mutate cost is 2 a hybrid black red and 2 white. So it costs 5 to mutate it. But the way that mutate works is if you cast a spell with mutate for its mutate cost, you choose. This is where it gets tricky, chat. You choose whether it becomes a creature enchanted with the creature that was already on the board, or if your mutate creature becomes the enchantment. So it does not buff stats. So a creature mutated by Snapdax does not get +3/+5, but it does get double strike, and whenever this creature mutates, FDK plus gain 4 life.
It is basically Bestow plus. It's like Bestow and
equal sign.
and Augment from the unsets.
Bestow minus because they don't get stats. Yeah, that's funny.
True. But yeah, I think that this card is really good. Even it just being an aura for 5 that gives double strike and deals 4 is like really, really strong, I think.
Yeah.
I think this card's great.
If I am whatchamacallit, I am scrolling up to read the mechanics article on mutate because somebody just asked. Unstable M asks, when the creature dies, does the mutated creature come in as a creature? And you know what? Fuck if I know.
Yeah, so
I don't think so. Just flavorfully, that doesn't really make sense. So I would say probably not.
Yeah, I think it's probably more like what was the Eldrazi mechanic in Eldritch Moon? The one where you sacrifice creatures, kind of like Champion. Emerge. Yeah, that it feels like Emerge to me. Yeah, it's like
during casting, it's the same as Bestow, where it would just come in as a creature.
God. Yeah, and I guess they already have the rules infrastructure because I remember Bestow actually had quite a bit of rules baggage associated with it.
Oh yeah,
because it had to determine whether it entered as a creature or as an enchantment.
Okay, so I'm reading the mechanics article, and like Sir Spiffy Esquire in chat says, if the host is killed in response, it does come in as a creature.
Yep.
But if a mutated creature leaves the battlefield, all of its components go to the appropriate zone.
Yeah.
So if it dies, each card ends up in the graveyard. Any abilities that trigger whenever a creature you control dies will only trigger once. Same with exile your hand on top of your library. If it's put into a specific position in your library, such as on the bottom or third from the top or whatever, you choose the relative order of the cards. So like if you mutate one of the new gods or whatever,
yeah,
I guess.
I like this as a mechanic a lot. I like this a lot. It's kind of like you mentioned. It's kind of halfway to augment. It's kind of like Marisil the Pretender, where you can kind of build a weird cobbled together like monstrosity, and that feels very like Gaijin.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah, super in for it. I like this creature specifically as well.
Yeah, I think this thing is great in a Mardu attack deck.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Okay, next.
Yeah, this creature.
Mutating Bogles would be fun.
Yeah,
mutate Bogles.
Specifically, this dude is.
Big Pop-O-Mancer, yes, would have to pay the commander tax if it's your commander.
VADROK.
Because the commander tax applies to anything you cast from your command zone and is incremented by 2 each time you cast that card from the command zone.
Yep. Okay, we got Vadrock. Bill, you want to run this one down?
Sure. So this is Jeskai, so blue, red, white, the legendary creature Elemental Dinosaur Cat. And it has mutate white, blue, red, red. So for 4, you can mutate it onto or into something. And it has flying and first strike. It's a 3/3, and whenever this creature mutates, you may cast target non-creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. I think this card is really good.
Yeah.
You just get to
busted.
You get to rebuy something for 4 mana from your command zone, and give something flying and first strike. Like, Snapcaster Cat, essentially. Snapcaster.
You remember? Remember like a year ago? You remember like a year ago when people asked me, what do you want in a commander that doesn't exist? And my answer was, I want a Jeskai commander with card advantage on it. And then in the last 18 months, they printed like 5 of them.
Yeah, I think that this card is really good. You can rebuy like important stacks, important stacks, enchantments, and just like artifacts, and even just like it is non-creature specifically, but you can like mutate this onto something and then cast what's it called, frantic search. Like that's like a pretty medium reality for it, but like I think that's a very reasonable use case still.
Akrason,
yeah, you mutated, you frantic search, and then it cost 1 mana. You looted 2 cards.
Akrason asks a really good question. Does the whole mutate stack count as a commander if only the commander's on top? That's a really good question. I assume it's going to be in the set notes.
Commander damage? Let me see.
I think it would likely be only if it's the one on top.
Yeah, I would imagine
because
on top.
It's only when the permanent itself deals damage, I think.
Yeah, it loses the name.
Right.
If it is not the one on top.
The name doesn't matter.
Well, the name doesn't matter because if a commander's been manifested or turned face down for whatever reason, it is still your commander and deals commander damage.
Yeah. Oh, Eli said it does. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
cool. Well, we will defer to Eli.
Isn't Eli not the
Eli Schifrin is the rules manager? Yeah.
Oh, I thought he wasn't. Oh, no. I'm thinking of Matt Tabak.
Yeah, Matt. Yeah, it's not Matt Tabak anymore. But I would still take Matt Tabak's word on it as well. But yeah, anyway, I think this card's sweet. Even just 3 mana for a 3/3 flying for strike is a good rate. And then it's got some mad upside. So really in for this one.
Of course, all of these, the power level on all of these also depends on how many other good mutate cards are in the set, I suppose.
How easy it is to trigger the whenever this creature mutates clause.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because, whatchamacallit, otherwise you're just mutating the commander, and then like it costs 2 more every time or whatever. Probably
that can
doesn't trigger too often.
That can be a little rough. I remember back when I first started playing EDH, I tried to build a proliferate deck, and this was well before Traxa existed, and it was tough because you only had a certain number of cards available in your colors. So, I mean, granted that they're going to be spoiling a lot of cards specifically for this, the unfortunate part is that when you play against a Vadrock deck, it's probably going to be very similar to every other Vadrock deck out there because you're going to have to run the tech that synergizes with your commander, or you're just running like a French vanilla commander, you know? So,
French
the thing that I think is interesting, if the creature that you mutate this onto does become your commander as part of the mutation, Snapdax with double strike is extremely terrifying. Because you just put it onto a big thing and then you mutate onto it. It has double strike now, and you attack for commander damage lethal, essentially with haste. So if that is the reality, I think that could be really cool and maybe
Yeah.
worth building around, especially for that. But we're talking about previous cards, so let's just keep going.
Yeah. What's next?
Illuna, Illuna, comma.
Oh, I like this one.
This one's Temur. Bill likes it. Why don't you give us a rundown?
Yeah. So this is 2 green, blue, red. So Temur. For a legendary creature, Beast Elemental Dinosaur. It's a 6/6, and it has flying and trample. It has a mutate cost of 3, and then hybrid red, green, blue, blue. I hate these mutate costs. They're so awkward to say. And then whenever this creature mutates, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land permanent card. Put that card onto the battlefield or into your hand. And yeah, I think this card is sick. It's kind of Maelstrom Wanderer a little bit.
Is that the one we wanted?
Except for...
Hang on. No, this is the one.
There's like an alternate.
Is that the one we wanted?
Oh, wow.
That's pretty sweet,
There's
too.
like a third alternate one that I can see on Scryfall.
Yeah, I just pulled up the other one, too.
Mythic Spoiler.
Well, there's the alternate one, the like comic book art, and then also this guy as Ghidorah.
Also the Kaiju. Yeah, Ghidorah, which is sick.
To be fair, sick.
Yeah, I think if there's enough stuff that mutates, I think that this is a very, very great value engine if you're just running like big stuff. Obviously, it's kind of difficult to really confirm that you're going to hit something big, especially because you're going to want to run ramp and stuff like that. But with stuff like Brainstorm, long-term plans, Scroll Rack, like there are a lot of ways to manipulate the top card of your library. I know we have cards that do this already, but this one can be triggered multiple times without casting it over and over again.
Also, notably, this is until you exile a non-land permanent.
Yeah, so this
it is permanent card, right?
This could definitely be
if your ramp is like Spellseek, Farseek, and Cultivate, and like instants or sorceries. This card is hitting nothing but fatties.
This could be your green ramp plus 1,000-Year Storm. That could be a fun deck.
This also works very favorably with a card that is pretty underground, and I don't know a lot of people know about it, but Food Chain.
Hang on, let me pull that up. How do you spell that?
FUDE. But yeah, if you just Food Chain this infinite times, like you do cast it as a creature with its mutate cost. I guess the awkward thing is you would need something to mutate it onto each time, but like I feel like if you're getting something each time you mutate it, that's probably not going to be a huge concern. It's like harder to break than other Food Chain commanders, but I feel like the potential is there.
Yeah.
I don't know what James is looking for right now.
I don't know.
But I assume it was a sick meme.
Okay. Next. What do we got next?
I guess if we're staying in the realm of mutate cards, we can go to the non-legendary ones. The first of which, in my opinion, is Polliwog Symbiote.
Here we go. Oh, this is... Oh, hang on. No, we got to show the alternate one. What are you talking about, Polliwog Symbiote? Yeah, this is Baby Godzilla.
Baby Godzilla.
It's a frog.
Creature.
So
frog.
1 and a blue for a 1/3 frog. Each creature spell you cast costs 1 less to cast if it has mutate.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you cast a creature spell, if it has mutate, you loot. You draw a card and then you discard a card.
That's not bad.
Like if the mutate deck is good, this card will be good.
Yep. Yeah, agreed.
Hunt Master, one word, Hunt Master, Liger.
Notably for Polliwog Symbiote, it does discount them even if you don't cast them for their mutate cost. It's just if the creature spell has mutate, it costs 1 less. So it is like pretty flexible in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this one is a 4-mana 3/4 with mutate for 2 and a white. So it's actually cheaper to mutate this one as opposed to the legendary ones. It's more expensive. And whenever this creature mutates, other creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of times this creature has mutated. Again, if there is a lot of like white or green, I guess maybe mutate cards in some kind of go wide strategy, this card is going to slap some people.
Yeah, because it's like it builds on itself. It's exponential.
It's +1/+1,
if you do it,
and then it's +2/+2, and then it's +3/+3.
Yeah. MTG Fuzzy Too Wuzzy, yes, the mutate cost would be reduced with the other guy, with the Polliwog Symbiote.
Baby Godzilla. You can call him Baby Godzilla. That's his.
Yeah,
That's his Christian name.
That's his.
But yeah, I think Huntmaster Liger is a great way for go-wide strategies to just close out the game if there are like cheap enablers for mutate.
Yeah.
Oh, and Vincento Forte is like so right. Mardu mutate.
Oh yeah, double strike. Oh
yeah, with the big guy.
Stuff.
Oh
Double
no.
strike. Asshole, and this plus X
Yeah.
plus X. Holy
Yep.
shit.
I would say it's a parasitic
and-
mechanic for sure.
I would say this is absolutely a parasitic mechanic in the strictest sense of the word.
Yeah, it's exactly like I was saying before with Proliferate. It was the same thing with Energy, right? Energy was a really tough deck to build around because once you narrow it down to your color identity, you might not have enough unique cards to actually make a strategy happen. And if you do, you might be restricted to like one strategy. So I'll happily be wrong on this one, but I think that's how this is going to work out.
The last mutate card that we've had spoiled so far is Cloud Piercer, all one word.
There is also one after this that I see on Mythic Spoiler.
Oh yeah?
Yep. Is there?
But we'll talk about Cloud Piercer first.
Well, Cloud Piercer is a 5-mana 5/4 with reach. And whenever this creature mutates, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. And it's got mutate for 3 and a red. It's like fine. You can rummage.
It's pretty medium.
It's like super modest.
The fact that you can turn a creature into something that rummages for like 4 mana and turn it into a 5/4 as well is like kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it's like it's pretty medium. This is sort of probably on the higher end of things that I would be comfortable adding to a mutate deck as an enabler. But it's
again,
fine.
like I mentioned, you're gonna have to go deep for these decks, I think. So
yeah,
we'll see
for sure.
What's next?
So there is another one. I don't know if it's on Scryfall yet. It might have just been.
Spoiler, so
Hey, Don Waltz, thanks for the sub.
Yeah. It might be. It might not be on Scryfall yet, but it's called Gemas, Gemas, comma the Destroyer.
Gemas. It is not. Do you want to read it out?
Yeah, I'll read it out. So we don't have the picture for this one right now, but it is it's 3 and a green for a creature dash beast. It has reach and trample and is a 4/4. It has mutate for 1 green, and it has whenever this creature mutates, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls.
I like this. It's like Aura Shards, but for mutate.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Again,
you get to mutate it onto something.
Mutate, this card is just Aura Shards, like you said, and it's great.
Yep.
Like just 1 green gives something reach and trample as well, in addition to destroying something. I think this is great, like as pants.
Yeah. Don Waltz, like any idea on the next time you're going to do a CEDH live stream? Probably this weekend. We were doing some in the mornings last weekend. So now that you're followed, you will go live. We've been doing Canadian Highlander on weekdays at lunch. And I did a couple of CEDH games on Saturday morning and Sunday morning. And we might do it again this week. Depends what my weekend looks like.
So we've got nowhere really to go from here. That's all of the like new mechanic cards or whatever, but we can look at Godzilla.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's talk about Godzilla. King of the monsters.
I don't think we've actually seen
oh, it's not coming up. What's the non Godzilla name of it? Do we know?
Zilortha.
How do you spell that?
But I was about to say
it's Zilortha. We haven't seen the non-Godzilla version of this yet.
There we go.
I don't think.
Yeah, so it's a 5-mana 7/3 with trample, and it's got the ability lethal damage dealt to creatures you control is determined by their power rather than their toughness. I'm glad that this is mythic because I think that this is going to confuse a lot of people.
Yep.
This card dies to a Black Sun Zenith for 3, but it does not die to Lightning Bolt.
Yep.
Yeah.
The commander precon commanders.
There is also Otrimi the Ever Playful. Okay, well, we'll look at that one when we're done looking at this one. But yeah, the templating on this, I think, is confusing.
Oh, no, we didn't.
It took me a couple read-throughs to actually understand what it did. But basically what it is it's Assault Formation or Doran, but for attack. It's like the opposite of that ability. So rather than creatures dealing damage equal to their toughness, these ones are taking damage according to their power.
So that's not actually 100% true. If you have this guy plus like a wall of blossoms, it doesn't die to 1 damage. It still dies to 5, I think.
It deals to it dies to 7. Oh, sorry,
no,
the wall
if you
of
had
blossoms.
like a wall of blossoms.
The wall of blossoms will only take lethal damage once it has taken damage equal to its power. So you determine what its power is.
If you play this guy, do your walls die?
No, because they're not taking damage, right?
Okay.
But I would assume if you could deal 0 damage to it, like if you fireballed it, X equals 0, it would die.
But that's not dealing damage. Dealing 0 damage is not dealing damage.
But it would be, they might need a comp rule. It has to take damage for lethal damage to be checked. There you go. That's when the SBA gets checked. That's right.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Very interesting.
But yeah.
Anyway, I think that he's cool because he's big dino rar stomp and
yeah.
And so actually, so do we want to cover the Commander 2020 legends, the 5 that were revealed?
We have 9 minutes if you think we can do it.
Yeah, if we just slam through them, then
yeah, let's do it. What's the next one?
Okay, so Otrimi.
Okay, Otrimi the Ever Playful. This is a 6-mana Sultai commander. It's got Mutate for Sultai and 1 colorless. It's a 6/6 trample Nightmare Beast. And whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, return target creature card with Mutate from your graveyard to your hand. I think this card is excellent.
Yeah. Sultai.
Yeah,
Sultai Mutate Recursion. I think that this card is going to be one of the better Mutate commanders. You can quote me on that.
And the fact that it doesn't, the trigger is on combat damage instead of whenever this creature mutates, I think is great. The fact that it plays into other creatures when they need to mutate is great because you get to reuse your other ones that have died or been milled or whatever. I think that's good.
Yeah, I think that the biggest plus on this one is that you're taking a big tempo hit if you get a stack of mutated creatures dealt with. So I think you're probably going to see mutate creatures, provided they're not way overcosted, that give Shroud or Hexproof. I guess it would be Hexproof and not Shroud. But yeah, this one, like Zachary mentions in the chat, it allows you to play fewer mutate creatures because you can recur them. And it also
reuse the good ones.
Yeah, it allows you to mitigate the card disadvantage from getting a pile of mutated dealt with. This is kind of what they did with Theros Beyond Death when they were like tacking card advantage onto auras, because auras have the same problem, right? You stack up one creature with a bunch of auras and then it gets pathed and you're down like 8 cards and you can't recover from that. So I think that this plays a big role in.
Next up is Kalamax, AALA Max.
Kalamax, the Stormsire. Eliot, you want to give a rundown?
1 and Teamer for a 4/4 Elemental Dinosaur. Whenever you cast your first instant spell, specifically instant, each turn, if Kalamax the Stormsire is tapped, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Whenever you copy an instant spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Kalamax. Very interesting.
It's something for sure.
Is a combination spell slinger and turn your one big dude sideways deck.
So
I think like the one thing that I can see with this is like double strike spells or whatever, right? Like you just like attack with this and something else big, cast Teamer Battle Rage and copy it.
But that doesn't do anything, right? You can't get double strike.
It gives it double strike once.
But you could play like Insult to Injury.
No, I said it and another big thing.
Oh, and another big thing. Yeah, that's good.
But
somebody mentioned Berserk. Zachary mentioned Berserk in chat. Berserk is insane with this card.
I was first not very inspired by this, but then I had the thought in my mind of moving to attacking with this guy and casting a Become Immense on him. And now I want to make this deck.
Yeah. You can also play Nexus of Fate.
Yeah. Yeah, Nexus of Fate copies. That's really gross. Just mill your deck and then cast Nexus of Fate forever.
Even just fair Nexus of Fate in this is disgusting. I don't know. Like,
guys, you know what's an instant?
What?
Savage beating.
Yeah, savage beating is insane. Hey, chat, let us know what your favorite instant is that you would want to copy with this card. Your favorite instant that's in Temur colors. Let us know.
Okay, so we're in agreement. Calamax is really good.
Yeah, Calamax is
really
sweet.
really fun.
Yeah,
at the very
Calamax.
least. Okay, next one. Yeah.
Cool. Next up.
JIRINA.
RINA. Seed time. That's funny.
Seed time.
Seed time.
Fact or fiction?
Okay, Jirina Kudro.
Yeah.
This is a 3/3 for 1 and Mardu. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token for each time you've cast a commander from the command zone this game, and other humans you control get +2/+0.
Notably, this card pairs very well with Ogre Battle Driver.
Ooh, yeah.
Make
True.
5/1s?
Just make
With
5/1s.
haste.
That's sweet.
I was gonna say this card also almost does the Prosh thing. Even
Yeah.
like it's in Mardu, to be
It's
fair, so
super
it
close.
can't because it's
Yeah,
in,
you can't food chain.
so.
Well, what you could do,
When
could
I
you
saw-
do this with a combination of Ashnod's Altar and Phyrexian Altar by sacking the tokens? You can't quite get there, but almost. Once you've cast it a couple times.
Yeah.
It's like just because Ashnod's and Phyrexian Altar don't add equal to CMC, it makes it
Yeah.
a lot more awkward.
It's like close. It could
Yeah.
get out of hand very quickly anyway.
Yeah, I think this is a Mardu attack deck that wants to go long.
Yeah,
which
I
is
think it will. I
kinda
think it will
strange.
see more play as not the commander.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this would
just
be
have it
kind
as,
of
like,
cool.
plaything.
This would be cool in a
You
Hate
just
Bears
play,
deck.
like, Alita.
Because you could play
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Thalias, right? It would give your Thalias +2/+0. It would make them 5 or 4/1 first strikes.
Mhm.
That could be kind of sweet. Yeah, you could play with partners. That would be really good because it checks both partner casts.
Yeah,
Panharmonicon?
It is specifically commander. Panharmonicon is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Um,
What's next? We got 3 minutes.
Next one.
GAVI.
What is it?
GAVI, Nest Warden.
Gavi is a Jeskai commander. It's a 2/5 for Jeskai and 2 colorless. You may pay 0 rather than pay the cycling cost of your first card that you cycle each turn. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 2/2 red and white dinosaur cat creature token. I want these tokens, probably.
Eliot does.
Yeah. Dinosaur cat, very very big,
Very on
very
brand.
big, very good.
Yeah.
Pay 0 rather than pay the cycling cost for a card. Seems great.
Yeah.
Only sad part is it's in Jeskai, not like
Esper.
better colors like Esper or 5 colors.
Yeah,
or
it's a
4 colors
better.
even, or whatever.
Do you think that this is a better Astral Slide commander than Zur?
Maybe. It's interesting because it is just the first one. But
Ooh,
the fact
cycle
that Zur-
Decree of Annihilation for free.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, true, but it is just the first card you cycle. Whereas there's you could just Zur in like your Astral Slide or whatever, and then get to the point where you play the enchantment that lets you cycle everything for free. I don't remember what it's called. When you have like 7 cards
like
in your
the
hand.
enchant, the blue
Yeah.
one.
Notable that it is the first card you cycle each turn, so you could draw 3 cards off this per turn or per turn cycle.
Yeah, true. New perspectives.
Yeah, New Perspectives is really good. But yeah, I think
But yeah, like the fact that it is each turn is not irrelevant.
yeah, this could be a pretty massive card advantage commander. This kind of reminds me, if you're playing it like that, it kind of reminds me of Anye or Anje Falconwrath.
Where
Just
you
because
have
you're
a
just
lot
like
of cycling cards.
yeah, and you're just like pitching stuff to your graveyard aggressively. I played against Hukka's deck on the weekend, and it seems like this deck would play like that.
Okay. I have like 30 seconds.
Okay.
So let's do the last
One card left.
Really, really fast.
Athril. AATHRIL.
Athril. AATHRIL.
KATH.
Oh, KATH. Okay, here we go. It's a
It has a lot of words.
Abzan 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, put a flying counter on a creature you control. If a creature card in your graveyard has flying, repeat this process for first strike, double strike, death touch, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, trample, and vigilance. Then put a +1/+1 counter on capital for each counter put on a creature this way.
See, the thing that
So
disappoints me is
interestingly,
that
it
haste is not in here.
Yeah, haste is not on
haste
there.
is not in here, even though it's in Abzan anyway. Like what Abzan creatures have haste?
Strangle Root,
Whatever.
guys.
Anyway,
Groundbreaker.
oh,
Haste is secondary in
Ooh,
green.
big fan.
But
Yeah,
Bill, what do you think about
fair
this?
enough.
Quick, before you gotta go.
I think it's dope. If you have a way to give it haste, then obviously it's just 5 mana, kind of just kill target player, because it gets like plus a lot. With Panharmonicon, you get to do it twice,
Yeah.
which a lot of those don't worry about stacking, but then you get extra +1/+1 counters.
Yep.
And yeah, I think this thing is dope. Unfortunately, I have to go. I have a meeting right now.
Everybody
So,
say goodbye to
thank
Bill.
you everybody for having me.
Thanks, Bill, for joining
Bye.
us.
Bye.
Bye.
No problem. Bye.
Thanks for joining us, Bill. Okay.
Oh, and that screwed up our stuff because I was screen capturing.
Oh God, did it ever?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can probably cut it off there.
We're basically done.
Yeah. Do we have any more cards to talk about?
There's a couple like not very exciting ones after that. There's like, I guess there's the Moth.
Okay, we'll talk about one
like
more
the
card,
Planeswalkers.
and then everything else we'll talk about tomorrow because I imagine there's more stuff coming tomorrow.
Yeah, almost certainly.
What's the card?
Luminous Broodmoth.
Luminous Broodmoth. Okay, so we're gonna chat. Bear with us here. You're not gonna be able to see our faces, but you can see Luminous Broodmoth. This is Mothra. Here's the Mothra art. Supersonic Queen.
Oh,
It's
they
a
can see me twice.
4 mana 3/4. Whenever a creature you control without flying dies, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. Yeah, this is a weird one. Ability counters are new.
Yeah, that is a new thing for this set is counters that give abilities to things, and there are a bunch of them. There's I think one for like all of the major ones. There's Menace, First Strike, Hexproof, Lifelink, and Reach, Flying, Trample, Death Touch, and Vigilance.
Yep.
So like,
yeah. So this one's kind of cool. Notably, it does combo with Solemnity. Yeah, somebody mentioned Solemnity in chat. It does combo with Solemnity and Walking Ballista. You just cast Walking Ballista X = 0, and you get infinite ETBs. It also draws the game because this is not optional.
fair.
So if you have like Zulaport Cutthroat out or whatever, you can do that. This could be cool in like a soldier's deck. Like just being able to give stuff flying forever is kind of cool.
Yeah, just like neutral value. This is a 4 mana 3/4 with flying, and whenever your things that don't have flying that you're attacking with around it die, they just like come back for free.
Yeah, I like the idea of playing this in my Kangi deck because it gives my lords flying, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that is spicy.
Yeah, I think that this is a pretty textbook Kangi card. I like how weird this one is. It kind of reminds me of Aven Mimiomancer.
Yeah, it is.
I'll pull that one up for anybody that might not know that one.
Weirdly like that.
Yeah, these are kind of like Aven Mimiomancer feather counters, but yeah. Okay, we should probably call it there because our windows got all messed up. But thank you, everybody, all 108 of you in chat. We're probably going to do this tomorrow again instead of Canlander, depending on what kind of bombs come out. So let us know what you think of this. Reply to us on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube, wherever you want to interact with us. You can join our Discord if you want to come and hop in the chat, because chat is bumping today with all of that stuff. But yeah, just keep in mind, we're not talking about spoilers. We are talking about preview cards. So these are cards that are officially released by Wizards or by creators on behalf of Wizards. And yeah, there will be a VOD. We'll try and get this up on YouTube as soon as we can. Okay. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Stay safe, stay home, and wash your hands. I guess we got to find somebody to raid.
Yeah, who are we raiding, you big noob? Come on now.
I just searched raid on Google.
Oh, good.
For like, who do I raid? Let's see. We could do Mox Crystal again. We could do... What about chat? Anybody have any recommendations on who to raid in chat? Nobody that we usually raid is online. We raided Mox Crystal earlier this week, so want to do Mox Crystal?
Yep. Into it.
Yeah, Kyojo was
Mox
going there.
Crystal.
Okay, we're rating Mox Crystal. There we go. Okay, if you've never joined us for a raid before, we want to spread some positivity in the Magic world. So when you show up in Mox Crystal's chat, make sure you give her a compliment. Spread some positivity, say something nice to her or about her, and we will catch you folks next time.
Bye.